what can't change and what should change. The architect, and by the way, I did not have anybody come up and confess that they were a sketcher, a drawer. Where's our graphics person in here? Come on, I know you're here. I know that some of you are like, well, I mean, I doodle. I mean, yeah, I draw. I mean, I can sketch something. You can volunteer or you can be voluntold. It's up to you. All right. There are two ladies sitting right next to one another there. Which of you is the better drawer? Who sketches there? Either of you do any graphics? I don't. You don't? Are you? You can draw a stick figure? You can draw a good stick figure? I didn't say it was good. Ah! I'll let everybody in those online be the judge. What's your name? Sonny. Come on up, Sonny, would you? Everybody give Sonny a round of applause. Sonny, bring a pen or pencil if you would. What Sonny's going to represent for us in a graphic way that you won't forget, I'm sure, given the brilliance of her stick figures, is that she's going to represent the architect's visor. The time when you move from the why to asking the question of what should change. Sonny, I'm going to let you work on that right there, if you would. And I'm going to ask you to draw me a stick figure of a pastor in the midst of casting a vision of change. Okay?
Yeah, easy.
Go for it, Sonny. All right. What Sonny is doing right now is different kind of hard work. She has now got to take this visionary idea and bring it down to the paper and say, all right, what will make this work best? Now, what does that look like in a pastor's role? It means that what we do is we ask the question after taking that captain's hat off for a moment, what is it that needs to change in order for that vision to come true? And what is it that can't change in order for that vision to come true? That means you've got to know something about rocks and something about people. So let's walk through this. First off, let's talk about the rocks. Anybody know what kind of rock that is? Can you tell by looking? Yeah, it kind of looks like lava. I'm not sure, maybe because the picture, I think it's actually granite. But somebody else told me, no, that's a river rock. And I'm like, what? He said, yeah, it's a river rock. You can tell because the way the edges are molded there. Well, now, he's no longer speaking geologically. Now he's speaking source-wise. So let's change it one more time. Is that a boundary rock? Or is that a stumbling stone? We can't tell from here. We have to recognize that if I don't know the difference between a boundary stone and a stumbling stone, I'm in trouble when I'm deciding which one to move. Can I get a oh yeah? Everybody remember that the book of Proverbs tells us, don't you move the boundary stone. There are boundary stones that should not move. Jesus says there are certain things that will not pass away. Heaven and earth are going to pass away. These aren't going to. There are things that I have to be able to say no. If your vision is following God, we're not moving that rock. But there are other rocks that are tripping people up, that are keeping people from coming to Jesus as easily. I want you to imagine the entrance to your church. Wow, that's actually very good. Would you hold that up? Because the camera's going to want to get that. Just hold that up.
I can make copies for everyone.
Okay, great. Thank you, Sonny.
If you need to use this in your church.
Okay, now, Sonny, just point it towards that camera just for a second. Hold it real still so they can see this. Now, what Sonny has done is, keep holding it right up there, just really highlight. There you go. Okay, good. There you go. That's
okay,
great. Good.
Good?
Super.
Okay.
That's good.
Okay.
That's good. And freeze. Good. Now, what Sonny is doing is she is saying, I have now taken the vision and I've actually put it on paper. I've actually started to ask the question, okay, if our vision is we want awesome worship services that are compelling and attractive with wonderful music. Everybody say amen? Okay, man, I want compelling lessons and amazing music. If that's the vision, now you put the architect's hat on. The first thing the architect's got to do is he or she has to ask the question, okay, when you say awesome, Tell me what awesome means, because we need to actually be able to draw awesome. What do you mean? I need to metric awesome. Is awesome when you say it's awesome? Or is awesome when more than 50% of our first-time visitors come back? Is awesome when our elder board says it's awesome? Or is awesome when our teenagers start bringing their friends? Is everybody tracking with me on this? Because those may be different answers, right? So as an architect, I have got to say, what is it that we're going to change in order to get to that vision? But I got to be able to draw your vision. Because there are boundary stones. Awesome would be if the teenagers started bringing their friends. I want the kids to bring their friends. Okay, cool. Well, let's just find out what the most popular songs are on the radio, and we'll sing them every Sunday. Whoops, I did it again. I mean, now we're going to go on to the second song in our service. No, wait a minute, hold it, no. There are some boundary stones that says, we're not going to do that, right? We're not going to have to bleep our praise team. We are not going to do that. Because we're not moving that. Oh, okay, so that's a boundary stone. Everybody say boundary stone. Okay, but there are some stumbling stones when some of those teenagers come to our church. The music sounds like my grandma used to play on the radio. Or the music sounds like, oh man, that's my dad's radio station. Or maybe, I want to be gentle, the music is just bad. It's just bad. It's out of tune. It's not good rhythm. The singer's flat. The tenor's sharp. The bass is lost. It's just not good. You say, well, you can say that, but you know how many people we had last Sunday? Yes, and let me tell you what they did. They climbed over the rocks because there was something at that church that made them want to be there. Maybe you got great preaching, but they had to climb over the music. Maybe you got great music, but they kind of tolerate the preaching, right? So when I cast this vision, I've got to be able to communicate to the group that's working with me now, because I'm not going to be able to do this work all by myself. What must change? And this is where the temperature begins to rise in the room. Because it's one thing for me to cast this wonderful vision of here's what we want. It's another thing for me to start saying, well, that means that some of our practices have to change. Let's just pause on this one. We want awesome music. Okay. Can we hire people? No, we don't pay people to praise God. If you don't want to come and volunteer and praise God, then we don't want you. Okay. Is that a boundary stone or a stumbling stone? Is that a stone you got to move? Now maybe you'll have a bunch of brilliant, gifted volunteers. Well, we don't audition for the praise band. If you feel God's called you, who am I to tell you God hadn't? Okay. Is that a boundary stone or a stumbling stone? And you can't kick people out of the choir. We never kick people out of the choir. We want as many people as we can in the choir. Okay? So I want you to imagine two competing values. You ready, Captain? You better put that why hat on, because we got two competing values. Value number one, we're a family church. We love one another. We care about one another. We never, ever want to do anything that will hurt anybody. Everybody say, that's a good value. We're a church that loves the lost. And we're willing to sacrifice, and we're willing to give up things in order to reach the next generation for Jesus. Everybody say, that's a good value. Back in the captain's chair, aren't you? What's the question you got to ask? Please, Lord, somebody say why. Yeah. Why would this value trump this one? Why would this value trump this one? And but we've got to be preaching that and talking about it, don't we? We got to be preaching it and talking about it long before we start the auditions for the new praise band. We got to be preaching it and talking about it long before we say, this year we're doing something different. Because everybody goes, Everybody say, why? And you've got to answer that with passion and vigor and vision. So that she can say, all right, now we're going to talk about how we're going to make these changes. Now, there's two things she's got to know. One, she's got to know about the rocks, the boundary stones and the stumbling stones. But second, she also needs to know about people. She needs to have some understanding, because one of the things she's got to draw, by the way, she drew here the pastor casting vision. I see it's a long-haired pastor.
That's what I know.
Mm-hmm. Is this a gender-biased drawing that you're holding?
No, I let the guys be here and learn.
She said, I let the guys be here to learn. Okay, good. Everybody give Sonny a big round of applause, would you? Thank you, Sonny. Would you sign that for me?
Yeah, absolutely.
I want you to autograph that. I'm taking with it and showing my wife, and she'll go, that rocks. She'll frame that. Okay. When I began ministry, I thought that everybody in the church would be able to hear something that I would say and go, yeah, I get that. Then I got married. And I learned that people are different. Can we all give a mm-hmm? And I developed a way of talking about this and teaching this about 30 years ago that I call the zoo we live in. And it starts with my wife's birthday. So if you'll go to the sheet that looks like a big four-quadrant sheet, and it may even say the zoo I live in on it. And has everybody located that? That's where we're going to be for the next few minutes. Go to the next slide if you would, brother. One more time. Everybody knows the golden rule. Do unto others as you'd like them to do unto you. I'm here to tell you that it is easy to misinterpret and misuse it, as I did. My wife had a birthday. It was one of those birthdays that was kind of a big one. You know what I mean? Like a 0 or a 5. And I said, sweetie, what kind of party? And she said, no. We are not doing a big deal. I said, but babe, this is yours. She says, I know. I don't want you saying it out loud. I don't want to hear it from the pulpit. And she said, I don't want some big party. And I said, okay. Now, I knew that my wife is humble. And what she's really saying is, I want a surprise party. So I planned a surprise party for my wife. But not a big one, because she said not big, right? So I had like 8 couples. That's not big. That's like what? 16 people, us, makes 18. That's not big, right? But these are all our close friends. And so I had this party all lined up. Now, it was really a surprise because I had them at a restaurant. It's a restaurant called the Melting Pot. If you've ever been to the Melting Pot, you know it's fondue where you pay way too much for cheese, right? And so I said, okay, babe, why don't we eat dinner tonight and then we'll go over to Melting Pot just for dessert, because I'm cheap. So we'll just go for dessert. And she said, oh, that'd be fun. So we have dinner together, and I'm smiling, thinking right now all the people are getting to the restaurant. We drive to the restaurant. On the way over, she says, this has been so nice. It's just been nice to be with you. And I said, yeah, it has been. We've kind of done that now, just you and I together. We kind of did that. And she said, yeah. And I thought, and now for the good stuff. We pulled up and parked. The restaurant was an upper level of this kind of outdoor strip mall thing, and the restaurant was completely glass. The whole front of it was glass. And when I pulled in, I glanced up and thought, what? And I pulled in and I parked, and I got out of the car and I looked. All of our guests are crammed in the lobby of this restaurant. And then it hit me. They have a rule. We cannot seat your party until everyone in your party is present. No way. It all hit me in a flash as I saw all of our friends lined up like mannequins in this window up there, looking out. My buddy Blair is like this. All right. I walk around and open the door for my wife. She steps out of the car. She looks up. There's Blair and Karen. Isn't that because now they're trying to scatter, they're trying to, do this. That's Steve and Kathy. And then I see it wash over her face, and she turns to me. And she asks me one question. How does my hair look? What? How does my hair look? Baby, your hair looks great. I can't believe you did this. I cannot believe you did this. You're not even looking at my hair. And then she's looking in the mirror. I'm going to kill you. I am absolutely going. What, baby? Look at those people. I said, sweetheart, they all love you. They all love you. Please act surprised. What I did not think about was the fact that that window works both ways. All of her friends saw her reaction and went. All of my friends went, as she is giving this to me and giving this to me. And I finally had to say, baby, they can see us. You're a dead man. Let's go. Up we went. We had a wonderful evening. It really was a wonderful evening. She enjoyed it. She had fun at the party. Her girlfriends gave her gifts. Everybody laughed. It was great until we got in the car. And when we got in the car and shut the door, she said, how simple could I have made it? How basic. I said I don't want a big deal. That wasn't a big deal. Yes, it was. And I know why you did it. Babe, I did it because I love you. No, you didn't. And I'm thinking, you're right. I did it to make you miserable. I spent all that money to give you the worst night of your life. Praise God I didn't say any of that. I just thought it in my little inner fleshly mind. And I said, why do you think I did it, baby? And she said, because that's what you want. You love big parties. And at your birthday, when it was just me and the kids, you wished I'd had everybody there. Well, now that you mention it, I didn't say that either. What I did say was, fine. I will never throw a party for you as long as we live. That was not a good choice. It was a really cold night, as I remember. In fact, it may have been a cold week, month. You all understand, don't you? You understand because that verse doesn't mean people are chicken McNuggets, right? It doesn't mean parts is parts. Parts are not parts. Go to the next one if you would. Here's a different verse for us for today. Do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouth. You all know this, right? Only that which is good for the building up of others. Help me with the rest of this. I need to learn to speak in the language of the people that I'm trying to lead. Not just language as in English or Russian, right? But language as in how do my partners, how does my congregation, how do other people hear and receive information on change? And I need to coach them so that they can do that with others that they're leading. So I'm going to use the approach I take with teens, which is a kind of a simple and a little bit fun one, but I find out that it sure works well with all us wrinkled teenagers as well, right? So here we go. I want to talk, one more if you would, I want to talk about styles of communication. First off, a couple of things you can write down there. There are no bad styles and no good styles. There is just people. There's no Jesus style on the chart that I'm about to show you. Second, I want to tell you that good communication is being aware of my style and sensitive to yours. I can't change into yours, but I want to be aware of mine because my natural tendency at the birthday was I wanted to do something, Terry, that I would enjoy, right? Naturally, because that's me. But I wasn't being sensitive to my wife's style. And finally, I want you to think about ways to talk about style that are simple. So here we go. The zoo we live in. The zoo we live in is a 4-quadrant, 4 boxes. Many of you are familiar with 4-quadrant theory. It's been around for a long, long time. How many here have ever taken a DISC, the DISC personality survey? Okay, some of you have, some of you are not familiar with it. We're going to make it a super simple way that you can teach this to teenagers and really smart deacons. Okay, so here we go. At the top, I want you to write the word fast. At the bottom, I want you to write the word slow if it's not already there on your chart. Fast and slow has to do with your processing speed. Some people love to process quickly. They're the kind of people who love games like Taboo, right? They love where you have to kind of think fast on your feet. Other people are more pensive. They want to think about it. Now, don't hear this as intelligence, because you can be stupid very quickly. Is everybody with me on this? This is not about smarts. But this is about the way you process. Now, I'm going to ask you to take a pen or pencil, and I'm going to ask you guys to do this online as well. And on that up and down line, I want you to put a little X where you are. Now, you can't put it in the center because I'm just not going to allow you to put it right on the brain. The higher you are, the more quick a processor you are. The lower you are, the more pensive, thoughtful. I like to take my time. And if you're with somebody from your church, and you're wondering where you are, just let them put your mark there. They know, all right? So if I were going to put my mark on this chart, where do you think my mark would go? Way, way, way down at the bottom, right? My wife would be laughing so hard. She'd say, right above the word fast. That's my nature. That's the way I move. Not bad, not good, just is. Now, right and left is cool and warm, and what some would say cool is task-oriented and warm is people-oriented. This has to do with a relational question. It has to do with how willing I am, in part, for instance, to be disclosing. What do I like as far as my communication style with somebody else? Warm people, man, you get in an elevator and by the 3rd floor with a stranger, you know about their kids and where they live and why they're here. On the cool side is a person who is very, very comfortable with the quiet. Doesn't need to fill it. On the cool side is a person who is very happy in a room by themselves doing some research and working on something. Spending a full day all by themselves. If you're way over on the cool side, well, that's awesome. Someone on the warm side calls that solitary confinement. Because they'd say, man, I want to be able to be with people. I want to be able to talk with people. Is everybody tracking and make sense of this, all right? You guys online getting this too? Just blink. Good. All right, here we go. What we're going to do is I'm going to ask you to put between right and left a little X for yourself. Where are you, towards cool or towards warm? Go ahead and put that X. Once you do that, then you're going to draw a connecting line, but it's not one connecting line, it's 2 between the 2 of them. So, have you got your X's in there? By the way, if you really want to have fun, now put your spouse on the chart. Go ahead, put a little circle with her initials or his initials in it, and put them on the chart as well. If you want to have some more fun, think about one of your leaders that's key to change in your church. Put their marks on fast and slow and cool and warm. Now you say, Jeff, you didn't finish the part about how we put the marks. Okay, let's imagine that my mark is up towards fast, and where do you think mine is on the warm and cool side? Yeah, that's my nature. I'm a relational person. I'll fill you in on the elevator. So my mark would be way out there. That means to get my fast and my warm mark, I can only draw straight lines, either vertical or horizontal. So my warm mark line is going to go up, and my fast line is going to go sideways right, and my little circle is going to be way out in the far reaches of that box, and I'm going to put my initials there. Do that right now. Connect vertically and horizontally so you find out where your mark is, and put a circle, and put your initials, and then do that same thing for your spouse. One more time. Let's imagine that I'm on the cool side, and I'm on the more thoughtful side, but I'm only halfway down. Then I'm going to draw a line down from the cool line and over from the slow line, and my mark is going to be about in the center of that bottom left-hand box. You say, why does it matter where my mark is? The farther away from the center you are, the stronger those qualities are in your life. I know it's geometry, I hate it too, but it's helpful. Is everybody tracking with us on this? Can I get it? Oh, yeah. All right, now, what we're going to do is we're going to give descriptors to each one of these boxes. And let's walk through them so you can get them on your paper. Punch that button first. In the upper right-hand section of the box are the bears. They are people who are fast and cool. Bears get the job done. Bears are go, kill, eat. Boom. I mean, just, get her done. And we love bears because bears are effective at getting in and making something happen. Bears don't mind a little bit of blood. They're just cool, and that's okay. It's going to happen. And bears don't want to sit around a long time. Let's get this done, right? But sitting in the meeting right next to the bear person is the monkey. The monkey, of course, is the person who enjoys being with people, and they love telling stories, and they've always got, and everything reminds a monkey of a story. And monkeys enjoy interaction. Now, monkeys and bears can relate to one another because they both like to get things done fast. The bears, however, get a little ticked at the monkeys because they're always kind of horsing around and wanting to keep things. And the monkeys sometimes are a little scared of the bear because, the bear's like, can you just knock it off? Excuse me, I thought that was funny. Okay, but let's move on with it. Okay, all right. Now, sitting in the same committee meeting or on the same team is a deer. Now, the deers are these wonderful, loyal, committed people who we need in our churches. By the way, remember Paul's language? Don't ever let an eye say to a foot, I'm better than you, or I don't need you. So all these parts are important. Deers are these wonderful, committed, gentle people. And when the bears and the monkeys get into it, because they will, because they're, boom, boom, popping along, and the deer is sitting there saying, let's not argue. Let's not fight. Can we just, are you guys okay? The bears and monkeys are like, no, we're just having fun. Bears, I'm trying to kill him. I'm trying to make him laugh. And so they're just having a good time at the table, right? But the deer is sitting there saying, this is driving me nuts. And if you're in a meeting and you talk about change, the bear says, what's it going to cost? How long is it going to take? Who's going to do it? All right, let's get it done. The monkey's saying, I'll make the presentation. I'll do that. In fact, I'm thinking we'll start with this song, and then we'll move into this, and then we'll move into that. And the deer is sitting there going, the Johnsons are going to leave our church. Oh my goodness, when Betty hears about this, she is going to have a cow. Oh, wow. Monkeys and bears, they haven't thought about that. But sitting right next to the deer is a cool, slow, wait for it, owl. Owls are very wise. Why are they so wise? Well, they're wise in part because they take time to think about things and because they don't let themselves get all emotionally wrapped up in it. Owls process quietly. They don't talk near as much as monkeys and bears. But you know what? When they speak, everybody listens. Let's go back to the meeting. We're going to make this change. The bear says, well, let's get on the schedule and get it done. Well, okay, we can do it this way and we can do it that way. The deer says, okay, are we thinking about how this is going to impact some of our seniors? What is the owl doing? The owl is sitting over there saying, are we sure this is a change we need to make? Have we thought about this? Now, who's the chairman? How many of each are in the room? And oh, by the way, you're supposed to be guiding this committee. And each of them need to be communicated with differently. Everybody say, I got this. Now, the question is, have we thought through what their needs are? One more set of facts. Punch it again if you would for me. These styles are generally descriptive and are generally reliable, but don't just put somebody in a box and leave them there. Because, number 4, most people have a dominant style, but we can slide vertically, or horizontally. What do I mean by that? Let's go back to our zoo for a second. I am a monkey, but guess what? Punch that button and see if a little arrow shows up there. I can slip over to a bear easily. Why? Because I get bears. And 2, because there's just a little tiny bit of bear in me. My family will say, my wife says, oop, the claws just came out. We're at the house and we're going someplace. Okay, kids, come on, let's go. Let's get in the car. Here we go. But one of them's late. One of them, Dad, I want to get this. And Mama, guys, we're leaving now, okay? What happened to Fun Dad? He'll be back. But right now, we need Bear Dad. Get yourself in the car. I'm not kidding. I'm pulling out. 10, 9, 8, right? And I get them finally all in the car. And once we're heading down the road, all right, let's sing a song, because Fun Dad is back. I just needed to be Bear Dad functionally for a moment, right? I can also move horizontally this way. I can become Dear Dad. I can be driving down the road and the wrong song come on. Cat's in the cradle and the silver spoon. Little boy blue and the man in the moon. When you coming home, son? I got a boy that lives in Texas. Texas. Oh, sorry. You ready for this? I got a grandson born in Texas. I live in California. Hey, listen, I can be touched at a movie. I can be touched at a song. But let me show you something I never do. Go to the next one if you would. I don't automatically ever flop into the X style. Because your X style, go to the slide and we'll show you, is that diagonal opposite, okay? I never just say, I think I'll be an owl for today. Because I don't have any commonalities with the owls, which means owls are the scariest people I have to work with. I can deal with bears. I know how to deal with them. And deers, oh yeah, I can be gentle with them. But owls are like from another planet. Okay, first off, they don't talk. Do you know what monkeys think when they see an owl not talking? She doesn't like me. She's upset about something. He doesn't approve. Why do I think that? Because I'm a monkey. By the way, guess who scares owls? Monkeys. Because they're always looking for the volume control. How do I turn you down? You just come at me with this barrage of stuff, and finally I'm like, okay. And then I walk away saying, why did I say okay? I didn't want to say okay. But he was just there with all this stuff. And if I keep coming at him that way, he'll quit the committee. And if I keep forcing her that way, she'll finally say, you know what? You guys just don't need me. You've got this. And guess what I just lost? All the gifts that the owl brings. And vice versa, or all the gifts that the monkey brings. Deers, of course, are afraid of bears, right? They eat them. The deer says, Bob, what about the Simmons family? I mean, this is real. If we close down the Bible class, Terry Simmons has been teaching that class for 25 years. Bob the bear says, he'll get over it. We got to move on. We went through it. We know that. You want me to tell Terry? No. He's in my life group. Let me, I'll come with you. No, that's okay. I'll do it. Well, you seem a little upset. Didn't we all agree to this? Don't get soft on me, Jeff. Don't all of a sudden get, because let me tell you what, if people start hearing that we're not all on the boat together, Bob, I understand. I made the same agreement you did when I joined this leadership team. I just feel for that family. Well, I feel for them too. I understand that, but we've got to do this. And I can give them a map to 10 other churches that would love to have them. Is it any wonder that deers occasionally are like, I need a cave somewhere. I need a place to hide. Now, here's the one that shocks people. Deers scare bears. No, they don't. I had a bear elder that I served with in the church, and I got to stop saying names because this is nationally broadcast. A certain pastor at a certain church had a certain elder. That work? Okay, good. And we'd made some decisions that kind of rocked the boat, and one of them I knew was going to hit this particular lady, and she comes up after the church service that morning and says, I cannot believe that we're doing this. my parents are coming for Christmas. And if they come and we've got that band on the stage, they won't even worship with us. I know, Betty. And I'm trying to work with them, see if we can maybe do an alternative service early on that morning. Oh, please. We love this church. And I realize that the opposition to that alternative service idea is standing right across the lobby. Bob. Nobody's rushing up to Bob, by the way. They know better than that. If they rushed up to Bob, he'd say, "Do you love the lost?" Well, then, you understand why we're doing this. I said, "Betty, come with me." She is weeping. "I'm so sorry." "It's okay." "Bob, Betty had something she wanted to share with you." You could see it. Ooh. Hey, Betty, you want a handkerchief? "Bob, I know you love this church like I do, but do you realize?" And she starts it, and Bob is like backing. Just nobody can back Bob up. The wall is behind Bob, and Bob is just like, "Betty, maybe we ought to find a time to." And I said, "Hey, there's a classroom right here. Let me just take you both in there." Bob is looking at me like, "You're a dead man." Because all he wanted was away from the emotion, because bears are scared by that feeling. Everybody say, "I get that." Okay, this is not about weakness and strength. It's just about the way that we are wired. So here comes the question. I'm going to lead change. How do I communicate to these different groups in my church, in my team? How do I help them to see and understand the need for change? So here's what we're going to do. It's going to be a little crazy for a moment. You ready? I'm going to ask you to self-identify bear, monkey, deer, or owl. And then I'm going to ask you to move in this room. Okay? Now, some of the people are like, "Oh, this will be fun." Others are going, "No." And you know which ones I'm talking about. So here's how this is going to go down. I'm going to just take this page here and flop it down onto this auditorium. If you're with a large group, you need to divide your room into 4, okay? If you're by yourself, you're good, all right? So here's what's going to happen. We're going to flop this down. That means that all the deers are going to come and sit right here, and all the, let's see. Oh, no, deers are over here. The owls, yeah, I need an owl to do this. The deers are here. The owls are here. Behind the deers are the monkeys. Behind the owls are the bears. Has everybody got this? Owl, bear, deer, monkey. Take something to write with, take your notes, pick up, and move to that section now, please. Thank you. Monkeys back there, bears back there. Deers right down front, owls right over here, please. Mm-hmm. Oh, deers, yeah. Owls. Can you tell I'm a directionally challenged monkey? So, owls here, deers here, monkeys, grab some chairs back there. Good deal. Good deal. Need I say more about the monkeys? Yes. All right. Now, what I'm hoping you've done is you've gathered with people who are predominantly, not fully, not completely, but who are predominantly in that personality. Thanks. Yeah, you notice this whole trail of bears heading up here? Are these all bears? Owls are down front, bears are towards the back. Okay. So owls are down front and bears are towards the back. Yeah. Of course, some of the last people to make it to their places are those who thoughtfully waited for others. Thank you. Or who were still saying, "I'm not sure that I agree with this." Okay, all right. So here's what you're going to do. I'm going to ask you to kind of circle up, group up. If you want to group up 3s, 4s, 5s, if you can kind of get your chairs together, if you want to swing your chairs around so that some of you kind of get here, you're going to talk together about the following questions, all right? The first question is, what does your style like when it comes to communication? What is effective communication for your style? Second, what does your style need from the people that you serve and work with? All right? So take your paper, turn it over on back so you can make some notes, and you're going to want to write the word like, and then you're going to write the word need. So like on the left, need on the right, and you're going to list some things. You say, this is what my style likes, this is what my style needs from those that I'm working with. And then let's just drop 2 more real quick at the bottom. Draw a line about halfway down your page, and then divide that section into 2 parts. And I'm going to ask you to put on the left the word commend. If you're going to commend your style, how do you commend, honor a monkey, a deer, a bear, an owl? On the other side, I want you, if you're going to convince me, here are key things about convincing me. So I've got like, need, commend, convince. I'd like you to work through it in that order. Like, need, convince, commend and convince. Thank you. And I want to apologize right now to the owls and to the deers, because I'm about to tell you that you need to do this quickly. And I know the owls are thinking, if you'd sent us this 2 weeks ago. You ever been in one of those meetings, right? You walk in the meetings and you got the 4 folks, right? And so you know. So 2 weeks ahead, you send out, here's what we're going to be discussing. You walk into the meeting. The bears have read it, at least the first page, the summary page, right? The owls have read every page and found all the typos. They've made notes. The monkey walks in and says to the bear, hey, you got a copy of that thing we were going to... And the deer says, here, I made an extra for you. There you go. That's the room, okay? That's the room we live in. We think about it, we laugh about it, but now we've got to stop because remember, I'm over here with Sonny, and I'm saying, how do I design the change that recognizes the differences, the wonderful diversity of our Christian body for communicating, all right? So here we go, likes and needs. I need somebody to make sure they're taking a list because one of you is going to be the spokesperson. We'll determine that in a minute. So turn around and talk amongst yourselves. Go, likes and needs. Hey, online audience, while these guys are talking, I wanted to chat with you guys just a moment. If you're sitting by yourself, maybe you can stop and start making a list first of yourself. What are your likes, needs? How do you like to be commended and convinced? But what's more helpful for you is to start writing some names at the top of that paper and think about significant leaders in your church. How do they like to be commended or convinced? Now the challenge is you're naturally going to think of it from your standpoint. And if you're sitting in a group of 3 or 4 or 5, hopefully you've got some different folks. But sometimes for me it's easy if I envision, like my wife's a deer, and I'd think, what would she like? Training ourselves to be aware of somebody else's style is asking the question from that text of Paul's, what is it that would be good for the building up of others according to their needs? So what these groups are doing is they're identifying our own. It's always easy for us to identify our own needs, right? Because, well, I know them. Selfishness makes that work. But it's harder for me to think about that person who's different from me. So 1, a tip is use a family member, or 2, use somebody, get a name. You don't have to show anybody the paper, but if you get a name, then it's a little easier for us to say, what would Bob like? What would Sue like? What would Mary like? It's exciting to know that technology allows us to multiply the ministry in this way. And thanks to Southern Nazarene University for being willing to think about how all this changes. God bless you guys. I'm going to give them a couple more minutes, then we're going to draw them all back together again. Thanks for letting me talk to you. All right. If I could ask you in each of your groups to just turn your head this way for just a moment. I need you to point your finger. Everybody put up a finger and point it towards the Lord. Just do that right there and hold it there for half a second. Great. On the count of 3, point at your spokesperson. 1, 2, 3, point at him. Count up fingers. Count up fingers. All righty. Okay, here we go. What I recommend you do for note-taking purposes at this point is that you get your little 4-quadrant thing back out, and you might want to make some notes in those boxes, or take another sheet, turn over and back, and just make a new 4-quadrant on it, because you're going to want to hear what your brothers and sisters are going to say and remember it, because it's going to help you with wives and kids and committee members and church members. And then, by the way, for all of you who are pastors and preachers, imagine if you had that chart sitting by your desk when you're preparing a lesson. And now, it's not about a matter of saying, how am I going to convince you to change about worship? It's saying, if I want to call you to discipleship, how can in my lesson I find ways to touch each of those quadrants? That's a challenge, isn't it? But let me tell you what happens when you do. You start finding people who are hearing God's word differently because you are doing the extra work of saying, I want to speak it in your language. So here we go. Let's start right there, right down here, down front. Let's go ahead and start with the deers. Thank you guys so much for your willingness to do this. I want you to know that it's going to be helpful to others, the information you're sharing. And so notice, that's exciting. Why would I start with a deer telling them that this information is going to be helpful to others? Because they care about people, because this is something that's important to them, and because they don't like what they're about to do, which is to have to get up in front of everybody. Right now the bears and monkeys are going, I don't know why you didn't start with us. We're ready. Can we do this? All right, here we go. Jason, what does your style like?
We like visuals. We like stories. It focuses on people.
Yep.
It focuses on the relational aspect.
Yep. Okay, so stories, visuals. What does your style need from us?
We need face-to-face conversations.
Yeah.
That's key to us. That way we can look at people's reaction. We can measure their body language because that's where most of the communication takes place. And we need a little bit of courage when it comes to making change.
All right. Well done. Well done. If I was going to commend and honor a deer, how would I do that?
Again, we're going to focus on the relational aspects, and we're going to, just to hear stories about how it's their decision impacted other people's lives.
Great.
That sort of aspect.
Great.
So for a teacher, I want to talk about the students that they influenced through their Sunday school years and stuff like that.
Would you like to be called up front? Would you like to, have your face
that
up
depends
on the
on
screen?
which side you're going to be as a deer. Some
Okay.
deer, that would be the worst possible thing.
Yes.
But for others, it's exciting.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's going to be a little bit more on the individual.
So I'm going to have to watch and see which tendency that deer has when it comes to that,
Yes.
that warmth and that slide there. And also, I'm going to have to ask myself, I know what I'd like. Her name was Jewel Shannon. Sweet, sweet woman. She was a kind of an owlish deer, if you get me, right? She launched our library at the church. She did so much work getting it all organized. The day we opened it, we were going to have a ribbon cutting. And in an assembly, I all of a sudden realized we've got to have her be the one to cut the ribbon. And we had some donors, but she needed to be there. So I said, we're going to do this. And I said, before I do this, I need to tell you, there's a woman who behind the scenes has worked so hard at this. And that's Jewel Shannon. I said, Jewel, just come up here. Oh, come on, Jewel, come on. Jewel's going to come up here because I tell you what, I want you to see. And I look back, and Jewel is gone. Jewel was sitting in the back of the auditorium, you noticed, and Jewel is gone. And I looked at Lou, and Lou went, Jewel, but I'm a monkey, right? So what do? I believe I just need to talk to her more. If I talk to her more, she'd understand me. That's how monkeys think. It's just because she doesn't know me that well. If you don't like me, you just don't know me well. If you know me well, then you would like me. So I thought, I know what I'll do. All right, tell you what, we're going to have another song. I'm going to go get Jewel. I was 28. Okay? Give me some slack. I was so foolish. We had a song. I dashed out. I went to the library thinking that's where she'd be. She wasn't in the library. I look around. She is sitting in her car in the parking lot. Well, of course, I'm a monkey. I ran over to the car. Jewel. Click. Oh, come on, Jewel. No, I'm not going up there. Jewel. Jewel, come on. Lou came out. Jewel, he's not going to go away. I am not coming. If it had been in the phone age, I'd have got a picture of her. But I had to go back in with egg in my face and saying, I'm sorry, Jewel isn't feeling well. And so here in a little bit, we're going to have this. You can look at that story from the outside and say, how dumb are you? What was I treating Jewel like? Like a monkey. I figured she was just toying with me. Oh, come on. What would Jewel rather have had to be commended? Help me. Let's think together. Monkeys. What would she rather have had? Maybe a personal note? Maybe something that was thought about ahead of time? You know? If you get a card from somebody, you can almost immediately tell who it's from, right? If it's a funny card, hey, you old fart, blah, blah, blah. It's a monkey. Monkey bought that card, right? If you get a card and it's written on it, happy birthday, dude, boom, just a couple of lines. It's probably a bear, although it could be a monkey. Deers write this sweet note on the one, and then they turn it over and they write on the other side, and it's just so sweet and kind, right? Owls have thought about just the right words in just the right order. It's simple, it's succinct. It's like, boom, there it is. It's like a proverb. You want it on needlepoint. As a monkey, I have actually given very funny cards to my secretary who said, hey, by the way, thanks for not signing it. I can use it again. I'm so sorry. I just forgot. Oh, Diana, I'm so sorry. I forgot to sign it. I told my wife, and she was like, and so now my wife checks. Did you sign it? Right? Did you sign it? All the monkeys say, whoo, whoo, whoo. Yeah, exactly. All right, okay, so did you hear the deers? Now let's talk about how to convince a deer. What will convince us, you guys?
A couple of things that were mentioned is we'd like to know the source of the information.
Okay.
We want to know where that is coming from.
Okay.
Also, how's it going to impact people?
Yeah, big time. Yeah. Let me show you a slide, and we've got this handout for you that we'll give you. Go ahead and go to the next one. Oh, sorry, I got them in bad order. So can you drop down the deer for me? Probably third one. Thanks. Okay, some things typically about deers, and you've already hit on some of this. One of the reasons that deers, when they care about people, it means they also respect tradition. Deers value it's always been this way. It's not that they hate change. They're respecting the people who put these things in place. Deers have high nurturing skills. Here, I'll go talk to Terry. Let me help you through this. Deers have a huge loyalty value. You can count on me. They're harmony keepers, right? They want to know, is everybody okay? And for that reason, let's not push this thing too fast. Every animal has a fear factor. And the deer's fear factor is, don't abandon me. That's why they're so concerned about the Johnsons or the Stevens, because it could be them. And a deer at heart says, the most valuable thing I can give you is my constant, committed friendship, which means The greatest loss I can have is when you're willing to make a change that abandons me. Can everybody please say, thank God for the deers? Can you see there are times you especially need to seek out a deer's advice on something? When you'd want to go to a deer and say, hey, help me think through this. Bears, are you listening? Help me think through this. I can probably figure it out. I know you can. But going to a deer will actually help relationally. Looking them in the eye. Taking time. And by the way, God put them in our families because we need them. Amen? So let's jump. First off, let's give a hand for the deers. Yay. Were there any other deer comments that any other deer had that they didn't get a chance to make or would add to that? And does that make sense? Does that feel right? At least some of it? Okay, good. Let's jump all the way across to the bears. So that'd be the first slide. Thanks, Ian. By the way, our techies are doing an awesome job. Let's give a round for our techies in the back. Good deal. All right, bears, talk to us. Who, if the bear spokespersons or person will raise your hand. I might have a couple of them there. Good deal. Thank you. What's your name, sir?
Terry, and I was mauled
All right.
by a bunch of bears.
You were mauled by a group of bears. Well done, Terry. You got a little bit of monkey in you there. All right. Tell us what your style likes.
We like information. Mm-hmm. We like it to be concise and to the point.
Yep.
And we like to know the bottom line.
Bears want it straight out. Bullet point this bad boy for me. If I give a bear too much information, overload. Don't bury me in the details. Notice the deer said, we'd like to know the source of the information. If you're below that XY line, if you can come back to that screen for a second, Ian, thanks. If you're on the bottom half, you typically are going to want time. All right, time means I need more information to look at because I've got time to look at it. If you're on the top half, you're typically going to be, as these bears said, use the word concise. I want it something I can look at and get quickly. Everybody say, I get that. So if I'm working with somebody and I'm wanting to help them understand the change, I need to find out how to get these people time without boring these people and losing them. Good. Keep going if you would. Can you tell us a bit about what your style needs from us?
We had a long list of needs.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We need obedient response. We need a yes, sir. Again, we need the bottom line. We need follow through and cooperation. We need to see that it's accomplished. We need initiative and we need cooperation.
Did you hear that list? Did you hear that very well done, concise list that didn't have a thing on it about, we want people to appreciate us? Right? These deers down here are like, I would choke in that room. But you guys are like, get her done. Now, by the way, praise God for the bears. Can I get a praise God for the bears? Because sometimes I'm like, oh, I wish we had more monkeys. You know, a committee full of monkeys has a blast but gets nothing done. A committee full of bears gets stuff done. Now, there's bodies everywhere, but they get stuff done. So I need to learn if I'm going to reach these bears and convince them. Talk about convincing you, would you please? Jump to convince.
To convince?
Please.
We didn't have a very long list there. We had facts,
Boy.
information.
Boom. Give me the data, but make it concise. Don't bury me. Give me the highlights. And if I want to commend, if I want to honor a bear and say, give honor to those to whom honor is due.
We feel honored by your response, your willingness to work, your acknowledgement that we got it done.
Acknowledgement that we got it done. You walk into a deer's office, you may be able to spot their deer right away. They've got all these cards, and they've got pictures of the family often up. Deers have things that have emotional connection. You walk into a bear's office, plaque, 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 right? What is the bear saying? The bear is saying, I'm a guy that gets it done, right? I mean, that's what matters. This is not, oh, you're like Jesus, oh, you're like Judas. That's not what we're saying here, okay? The deers are saying, well, all right. different styles, different gifts, right? One animal's not better than one another, but I need to know that if I want to honor these guys and gals, I want something that shows them, here's what I've gotten done. Let's see how we did in our bear chart. Rapid thinkers, right? So let me get me the facts. Action-oriented, let's get it done. Now, bears have a control factor, and bears' control factor is, just let me handle this. Just let me, if you'll just let me, I'll get it done. Can I get an oh yeah out of the bears back there? Just let me handle this. Because their goal is, let's win this one, and they're motivated by achievement. Man, we got that. But their fear factor, interestingly enough, is don't control me. Because if I remove a bear's ability to get in and make stuff happen, I have declawed them. And I have taken away from them what God gave them to get the job done. And a bear will feel like I've lost my purpose. Had an elder come to me with frustration about a committee he was on. We'd put 3 very gifted business people. 2 women, 1 guy, bears all of them. Grizzlies, actually. He says, I'm getting so frustrated. They're not showing up to the meeting. And I said, well, I mean, are they out of town? No, they just have stuff come up. Now, this was a monkeyish deer who was leading this meeting. I said, can you describe your meetings to me? And as they described the meetings, the more I listened, the more I thought, you're driving the bears nuts. They don't have time. Now, some of it may have been some growth that needed in the bears. Because the 90-minute meeting is starting this way. We take the first 20 minutes and we just pray. We go around and see what's happening in people's lives in our committee because I think that's important. Then after the first 20 minutes, then we'll have some reports from people about things that they've been working on. And then we'll take the last 5 minutes and we'll say a word or two about, okay, where are the things that we need to be focusing on next? Now, the first concern was it didn't add up to 90 minutes. And the second thing was the first 20 minutes of prayer is going to kill the bears. You say, wait a minute, prayer is important. Yes, prayer is important. But if you've ever been in one of those meetings, here's a freebie. Here's just a freebie. Don't start your meetings with prayer requests. We used to do this with an elder board I was part of. We'd spend the first 15 minutes of the meeting doing this. Okay, we know you're all working with your different flocks. Let's start around with what needs to be prayed for. And we'll start over here with June. And June says, okay, the Stevens have found out that it is a glioblastoma. It's a fast-growing brain tumor. Oh, you're kidding me. How's Martha? Oh, she's just tore up. Oh, man, how long do they think Bob has got? Well, they're not sure. But, man, I had a friend that had this in 18 months. They were gone. Oh, wow. All right, we'll want to be praying for them. Anything else? Yeah, Jack and Mary Robinson's son and daughter have split up. Oh, no, you're kidding me. Yeah, and I thought he was a pastor. He is, and they're not sure. Oh, boy, okay, all right, thank you. And then we just go right on down the line. Well, by the time we've gotten down 4 people, it's like, oh, come, Lord Jesus, right now. But this is just, I'm just so depressed. And then by the time we get through all of the people in the meeting and we say, okay, let's have a prayer. Well, how are we going to do this? Well, let's just go back through everything and we'll pray right back over everything we just said, right? So we're going to pray back over every one of those things. And after we've prayed through all of that, now we're ready to think positively about the future. No. Now we're ready to go, I give up. Oh my goodness. Let's just all leave the meeting right now and go to all their houses. Who am I thinking like? Come on, who am I thinking like? A deer. My deer sides have come out. That would be the most reasonable thing to do. But I need a bear to say, guys, the most powerful thing we can do for our church right now is focus on the big picture. By the way, do you know how we cured that in that meeting group? When I was chairman, said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to stop doing our prayer requests at the beginning. We're going to save that for the end. But at the beginning, we're going to do good God. And they said, what's good God? I want everybody to come in with one thing you can say, hey, here's something good God did in the last week, in the last 2 weeks. Well, Okay. Next week, we get in there. Nobody's used to this. All right, here we go. Give me a good God. Oh, I forgot about that. Come back to me. Okay, all right, okay. Somebody said, well, here's a guy came up to me after church, blah, 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 and brought a friend, da, da, da. Man, that's awesome. Everybody say, good God. Yes, and we went down the line. And then we paused and said, God, thank you for these great things. Guess what our meetings became? More creative and more energetic and more positive. Because we were starting that way. By the way, that person that said, skip me, they were embarrassed. I actually forgot to go back to them. So the next week, before the meeting started, they came to me and said, I've got mine. I said, what? I've got my good God. Oh, okay, great, good. I have two. Good for you. They brought two. Before you know it, guess what that group of leaders became? Good God magnets. They started listening and asking for people, hey, what's something good God's done in your life? It was their homework. It became their habit. Guess what happened to their attitude and thoughts about the church? Guess what happened to their openness to try something different because they weren't so worn down? Now, I'm not saying we don't need to pray about the brain tumors and the divorces. We do. But folks, we need to pray about the good God stuff too. Amen? Okay, all right, good deal. All right, so bears, we don't want to declaw you because we need you. And so may we, on behalf of all the other animals, at arm's length, we say, thank you for who you are. You are gifted. Did this little quiet quadrant of bears over here have anything you wanted to add? Did they get it all for you guys? Boom, got it, done. All right, you can maul them later if they didn't. Okay, punch the button and let's go on to the monkeys. All right, monkeys. Who are the spokespersons? See up there, they won the lottery, you know? That is the only group that had somebody who did this. I said, point the spokesperson. Me. Okay. Wow. All right, so who's the spokesperson up there? Oh, wait, hoop, hip, hoop, what? All right, here we go. What's your name, sir?
It's Mike Davis.
Mike, good.
And before we do that, I just want to give a shout out to all those in Jonesboro, Arkansas. Sarah, Pastor Sarah, how you doing? South Texas, how you doing? Yeah, we'd like to have fun. Maybe.
Go ahead and stand up. That's okay. It's a natural monkey move. I love it. I love it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Where are we going? We're going to have fun. We're just flying by the seat of our pants. We're winging it.
I know better than that. Monkeys, we're good planners as well, aren't we? Yeah, sure.
Well, I'm planning for that lunch.
That's okay. All right, so tell us what you like.
We do like to have fun.
Okay, good. And tell us what you need.
We need lots of likes, you know, on our Instagram and Facebook. And no, we really need security and understanding and attention. Yes.
Monkeys are fed by it. That's the bananas of the monkey. By the way, if you've got, I had a teacher who I coached about this. She had a couple of kids in her class that were just, and she can't. I said, you either give them the class's attention or they'll take it. One kid I had in my youth group years ago as a youth pastor, he was always wanting to crack jokes and do stuff, clearly a monkey. And I didn't even have this language back then, but I thought, okay. So I went to him after class and said, hey, I need you to help me next week when we start Sunday school. I need you to bring in a good, clean joke. What? I want you to have a good, clean joke to start our class with next week. Okay. So he came in. He was all ready, right? He had his moment in the spotlight, the very beginning of class, to tell his good, clean joke. And it was good, and it was clean, and everybody laughed. And I said, everybody give him a round of applause. All right, awesome. He's going to start us with something positive next week. Will you do that next week too? Yeah, absolutely. He was much more willing to be engaged in the Bible study and much more willing to be engaged in the discussions going on because I gave him a banana. Just give him a banana. And I gave him a useful banana because the rest of the class felt positive and enjoyed that, right? All right, good deal. So tell us, if you would, if we were going to convince you of something, would you mind jumping to that and saying a word about that?
I don't think we got that far.
Okay.
Is that right? Okay.
He'd been waiting 5 minutes to give that one. Tell us about honoring a monkey. How do we honor a monkey well? Yes.
We give him that banana. And we really need to know the what and the why to be convinced of that in order to really throw the party.
Yeah.
To come behind it. And just to be real. We really want to be real, but down deep inside, we're afraid of that.
Yeah. Wow, that's awfully vulnerable for a monkey. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I know they're all deering up back there now. It's like, fast-moving, fun-loving, attention-wanting. I mean, let's just, can we just say that's okay? You know, that's okay. We always feel like, oh, you know, humility doesn't mean you don't enjoy attention. The question is, what are you going to do with the attention God gives you? Guess what happens, Pastor, when you stand behind the pulpit? Everybody's looking at you. That's attention. What are you going to do with that attention? I just, as a monkey, have to be careful that I'm not gauging the value of my sermons on how much laughter there is, but how much life change there is. Now, I need some laughter because I think that helps people, but I got to make sure there's life change. Did I step on any monkey toes back there? Y'all relating to, you understand what I'm talking about? Okay, here we go. People-pleasing and verbally oriented. Verbally oriented means, let's just talk some more about this, right? The bears are like, we've talked about it enough. Yeah, but it reminds me of a story. You told it yesterday. Okay. People-pleasing is where you started getting vulnerable, saying, you got to love me, and the fear response is, please don't dislike me. Please don't dislike me. Please don't dislike me. Because if you dislike me, I got nothing. Do you see why you scare them? Because you're quiet. When they're quiet, they're scared, angry, or dead. One of the things is going on. So they know you're not dead, so they think you're mad. Silence to them says, you're not worthy of my words. Isn't that scary? Isn't that frightening? I had an owl elder. His name was Bob. He wouldn't talk to me about stuff. He'd write me little notes. I called them Bob bombs. He would put Bob bombs in my little office slot when something wasn't right. Comment about a sermon, Bob bomb, you know. Something he didn't like in assembly, a Bob bomb. Now, I was a dumb monkey. Do you know what I did with the notes? Went and found Bob. Hey, Bob. Bob would see me coming. He'd run. He'd hide. Why? Bob would say in his head, hey, monkey, why do you think I wrote you a note? Because I don't want to verbally spar with you. Because you've got verbal ninja. You'll twist things around until I'm like, that's not what I meant, you know? So Bob chose his language, zip, got it to me. And I was like, you got some jujitsu coming your way. And so I would go look for Bob. This was not beneficial to our relationship. Everybody say, I'm not surprised. I needed to learn what was going on with Bob and respond to Bob in owl language. Well, here, let's let the owls tell us about it. By the way, everybody say, we love you, monkeys! Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I know there's some monkey spokespersons that wanted to say something, wanted to tell a joke. Please do it during lunch. All right, good deal. I want to give you as much time as possible. So we took the owls last. Before you say a thing, because of the way you are wired, you are often overlooked. So I want to say thank you. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for not letting all of that drive you totally nuts. Bears get noticed because they get in, get it done. Deers are so relational, everybody wants them at the party. And monkeys, right? They're going to be noticed one way or another.
They are the party.
Yeah, they're the walking party. But do you realize that this is a gift to the body of Christ that we often, and I guess you're hearing a monkey kind of do confession here, overlook. One of my great relationships in life has been a relationship with a deeply owl elder, a chemist who won a chemistry award for his brilliance. One of the brightest things I ever did, he was an elder, was make sure that I had regular lunches with him because he would tell me stuff nobody else would. Thank you for who you are. Would you please share with us a little bit?
Thank you. First of all, I'm concerned that I didn't get everybody's notes here, so
Of course.
I'm feeling like I'm not very thorough. Yeah, can I have some more, please? Thank you. Good. I need information desperately here, so.
He may not be in the right group. I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Yeah, I was just going to say, that was rather monkish. That's
That
all right.
was a little
It's
bit, yeah.
Okay.
Hope I can read this. Well, things that we like information. We
Yep.
want to be thorough.
Yep.
Obviously, we want to know the purpose behind things.
Yes.
We are interested in the why is the big question. And all we would like clarity. We need to have things orderly and logical and so on. So well thought out. I'm writing some others notes here and. Authorized. I'm seeing that word here as well, so that's
Wow.
good. So we like things to know that things have been fully authorized.
Been done right.
Has been done right from the beginning.
Done right.
Okay.
Well done.
What do we need? We need time, obviously.
Yeah, I'm sorry, say that again.
Need time.
One more time, can you say
we
that
need
again?
time.
Monkeys, are you listening? Bears, are you listening? They want time. What does that mean about our preparation schedule when I'm wanting to reach everybody in my church? It can't be on bear monkey time. I have to prepare on deer owl time. But if I'm a deer and an owl, I have to make sure that my preparation is not such that the monkeys and the bears lose heart because it takes so stinking long to get where I need to get to. Can I get an okay from bears and monkeys on that? Okay, all right.
All right. Good.
Thank you.
We need understanding, which probably goes along with time and some patience there too. And as you described a little bit, we need some opportunity to be able to voice concerns and so on like that, and not feel like we are just
That's
left out of the discussion here just a little bit. Okay, I see the word on somebody else's notes that says perfection. I think that's probably a little bit of that in there too,
Yeah.
maybe a little perfectionist tendency. So, what do we need to convince us?
Yes.
Vision. We'd like to know the why, the purpose, and so on. Does this make sense? You know, and is there a consensus to this? Do people feel like we are together on this all together as well? So, okay. As far as being committed and so on, just to feel that we are valued and part of the team, part of that as well, and a little bit of patience is always helpful as well.
Valued, that we're part of the team. Is that intriguing? Nobody else said that we're part of the team. That's because this silent wheel here sometimes gets overlooked. Making sure that they know they're part of the team. Boy, you rang most of the bells there. For owls, neatness matters because they want to make sure that things are in order. That doesn't mean an owl's office is in order, but an owl will be able to pull the paper out of the stack wherever it is. Because they say, let's keep things straight. Why? I'm going to go ahead and drop down to their fear response. Owls say, my gift is to do this right, and therefore I don't want to be wrong. Hence, an owl might say, can we take a little more time with this? Well, come on, monkeys, you want to make a decision. Owl says, let's make sure we get this right. Careful choices, that's why they're print-oriented, detail-focused, and rules. I want to check the proper procedures. I love the fact that somebody over there says, has this been authorized, right? Nobody else asked that question. But they're like, folks, if it's not done right, then we've wasted the time. Let's do this right. Now, you can easily see that there is no answer. There's no magic bullet. But rather, you are going to learn to speak different languages. So, 2 challenges for you, and then we'll blast through the last thing I want to talk about. Challenge number 1, this next sermon that you're going to give, a next lesson you're working on, maybe it's for 2 or 3 weeks from now, how could you hit all 4 of those types in your communication? Is it possible? I believe it is. But you're going to have to first be aware of your own style. If I'm an owl pastor, my sermons are probably very, very effective and very thick in the sense of here's a lot of information. You're going to have to ask, how can I monkey it up a little bit? Not because I want to simply please somebody. I want them to remember it. I want to get them to stop looking at their phone. Because I get 2 minutes into the lesson and they think they know where the rest of it's going, and so they're down here looking at Facebook. So I want to make sure that I'm thinking about that. Second, I want to challenge you to find a person who is your diagonal opposite and make them your buddy. Listen to them. Talk to them about the projects you're working on. Because as a monkey, I can get deers and I can get bears, but I need help speaking owl. Monkeys say, oh yeah? Yeah, I know. It's exciting, isn't it? Oh, hang with an owl. Can I just go to the dentist? The truth is that I learned so much from that sweet elder that I spent that time with, and I thank God for him. I really do. When we communicate in style, we're doing so for one reason. I'm wearing the architect's hat, and I need to make sure that I both know where the rocks are and know who the humans are. And like any good monkey, I've planned poorly and talked too much. So we're going to blast through the foreman. On our mark, get set. Go ahead and go to that next slide if you would. And let's see if we can start here with the how can we change effectively. We're really going to fly through these, Ian, so let's just walk ahead. The foreman walks the job through the transition. Now we've got the design done, but we're going to walk this job through. The best model for transition is a little book by William Bridges called Transitions. And William Bridges uses the Moses model. Everybody know the Moses model? The Moses model goes like this. There was a man named Moses who led the people of Israel out of Egypt. Okay, good. For a moment you scared me. I thought, wow, let's all enroll at SNU. All right, he led them out of where? Egypt. What letter does Egypt begin with? We're going to say Egypt is ending. Everybody say Egypt is ending. Okay, so E stands for ending and also stands for Egypt. Then they went from the end to the middle part, which is the wilderness. They didn't go right to the promised land. Why didn't they go right to the promised land? Because you don't get to the promised land without going through the wilderness, I would suggest. And ultimately, they made it to the third section, which is the promised land. You say, well, this is pretty basic, Pastor. Then why do we all skip over it? And it goes like this. Good morning. I'm excited today to give you some announcements from the leadership committee here at First Church. We have purchased property and are going to be relocating. Bob put up the picture of the new building. Isn't it beautiful? Our architectural rendering here. And we are so excited about how God is going to be using this. As you can see, we've got soccer fields planned, we've got this planned, we've got that planned. Awesome. We're excited about this. Now, out in the audience are all these people in your church. Some of them knew this was coming, but a bunch of them really didn't. And where you're trying to go is, let's talk promised land. And what they need you to do is start with the ending. Question in the back. Yes. Susan. What's going to happen to this building? Why is she thinking over her shoulder? Why is she thinking about history? Because you've been in committee meetings and working on this thing, and you've already gotten through it, and this is the first time she's heard it, and what she needs first is to say, do you know what's going to end? And now you realize who Susan is. Susan is the granddaughter of the founding pastor of this church. Her dad's dad built this building. Well, Susan, we have made a negotiation to sell this property. Who are we selling it to? Is it another church? No. We've sold it to a company. What company? There's a Walmart that is coming into the area, and we've sold our property. This church is going to become a Walmart? No. No, we're the parking lot, actually, of the Walmart. But let's look at those soccer fields on the new field again. Let's go back to that. Right? Do you feel this sense that we as leaders want to jump ahead? What Bridges says is the first thing. Go back to those kids at the table when Dad said he's moving to Boston, and the girl went into tears and the boy went into flames, and Mom was like, "Really?" Start with the end. You say, "What do you mean?" Well, let's see. Good morning. I want to share with you some information from the leadership committee today. I want to start by reading a list of names. Ralph Seymour, Bobby Gentry, Sue Jennings, Don Sanders. Those are the 4 pastors who stood in this pulpit before me. Sue was here for 20 years. I am so thankful today to stand here in a long line of people who have had one goal: to bring Jesus to this city. I am grateful for the work that so many of you have done. And Catherine and I were so honored when we were called to this church. I stand before you today saying I love preaching in this building. I remember the first day my wife and I came in here. I remember our first Sunday. But I also probably don't need to let you know that God has so blessed our church that we need more room. And after prayer and deliberation, a decision has been made that we have acquired some property. And we are going to transition. I'd like to ask a favor of you. For any of you who have been here for more than, say, 3 or 4 years, if you have any photos on your computer files of church events, church gatherings, some of you are going to have to go back to paper photos of when we first moved onto this property. You can get those to Doris. You can scan them and email them to her. We're wanting to work on a memory book. You notice I haven't showed you a soccer field. I haven't thrown up the shot of what's new. Why? Because I need to have a funeral before we can head to labor and delivery. Why is it important? Just talk to them. Because it was a deer that coached me on this. The bears and the monkeys said, "No, we want to start with a picture of the new." And the deer said, "If you do that, we'll leave a bunch of us behind." So what does that look like? I want to identify the losses. I want to speak to the who and what of who's losing what. I want to accept overreactions. I want to be ready for it. In fact, go ahead to the next one. I want to acknowledge the past respectfully and publicly and compensate for losses where I can. There's some things I can't do, some things I can do. By the way, one church that was moving out of a building they'd been in forever had a day when they invited folks down with those pictures, and they had the picture books and had a wonderful deal, and they had sledgehammers. And on one portion of the building, they went over, and it was a brick building, and they said, "We need you to help us because we need to get bricks out of this wall." And so some of the guys started, and everyone was invited to take home 2 bricks. 2 bricks. 1, put it someplace in your garden, and every time you see it, pray for the church. 2, put it in a shoebox and keep it because I'm going to need it later. When they moved on to the new property, they had a day when everybody brought their bricks. And the front little kind of sign wall as you walk into the church was made with bricks from the old building. Somebody was thinking and said, how do we reach back and connect to this new place? Everybody just go, yeah. As a monkey, I would have rushed right past that. I think they had an owl on the committee that said, I have an idea. What if? Let's keep going. Clarify what's over and what isn't. Well, does this mean we're no longer going to fill in the blank? Let's hurry on, because we're way past time. All right, let's say a word about wilderness real fast. Wilderness is miserable. When the Israelites got in the wilderness, all they wanted to do was do what? Go back. At least we had leeks and onions. As a leader, I need to expect that. That when we're making this change, we are starting with a new contemporary worship service, right? Whatever it is. When we make this change inside our bodies, we all go, "Ooh, it's going to be great." But I get in there, oh man, it was so loud. And the first time the singer stepped up, the sound system, and that drummer, when he hit that microphone and it knocked over, and oh my goodness, can we just go back to the choir? Can we just go back to what we had? So let's walk through it. One, I want to set expectations. Here's the way I set expectations with my team when we're going to have a big change. Guys, repeat after me. The next few weeks are going to be miserable. I said that when we brought a new computer system into the church that I was serving with. I just told them, I said, listen, I need you to know something. The next few weeks are going to be miserable. We've been convinced by the people who convince us of such things that we're going from IBM to Mac. 3 or 4 techies, woohoo! Everybody else, oh! This is several years ago. I said, here's what I want you to know. I am not expecting you to do anything over the next 2 weeks except try and figure out how to run these dumb new computers. So please understand, you're not going to be able probably to email for a week. You're going to struggle with how to create a document. I totally get it. But they have promised me that these computers are going to save us money and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Okay. 3rd day in, my secretary comes in, throws down a piece of paper. What's that? Take a look at it. It's a weekly bulletin handout. I did it on the Mac. It's only been 3 days. You're kidding me. Wow. She went out like she'd won the Nobel Prize. Why? Because I hadn't done what I wanted to do. Dude, we're getting new Macintoshes. Yes. We had a donor, and it's going to be awesome, because then they'd be sitting at their desk going, where is the stupid button for this? Can we please have our IBMs back? So we set expectations and we go ahead and punch it again. We normalize the wilderness. We let everybody know we're all going to feel this way. Just keep punching them, Ian. We redefine the experience as an opportunity to learn and grow, and we seek new ways to improve by encouraging creativity and community. If you're transitioning, what's going to happen in the transition you could actually take advantage of? By the way, if you're going to rip up the kitchen and change the countertops, think about changing the tile on the floor as well. And if you're going to change the tile on the floor and the countertops, you may as well do the cabinets. Is everybody tracking with me on this? Why? Because then at least the kitchen's all tore up at one time. You ready for this? It's an a cappella church I led in North Carolina. We knew we needed to introduce instruments. We also knew that we had some issues with women and needed to broaden the opportunity for women to be used in our congregation and in our services and our leadership. We did both at the same time. I had a pastor buddy say, "Are you nuts? You added instrumental worship and you did that?" But one of the men on our team had told me the phrase, "Would you rather walk through the fire or run?" Now we had to think and manage this and make sure that we weren't sawing off the branch we were sitting off and biting off too much. But instead of tearing up the kitchen twice, we tore up the kitchen once. It was still a mess. We still had gripes and complaints. And we knew that normalizing the wilderness meant that I had to say out loud, I realize some of you are not going to be able to go with us on this part of the journey. And we get that. And we respect that. Don't you want to keep everybody? Yes, I want to keep everyone. Is it realistic that we keep everyone? Probably not. So if I say we want to keep everyone, the message is if you really love Jesus, you'll stay. What does that do to somebody who's leaving? 1, I'm shaming them. And 2, I'm shaming all the people who love them. Man, the Johnsons felt like they were just dirt. Why? Because I didn't give them the room to say, you know what, that's okay. Everybody say, I get that. Okay, so from the end, go ahead, punch it again if you would, bro. Some other day I will tell you about Change Mountain. I promise I will. We'll come back and do it. Thanks. To the new beginning. Here we go. I have made it through the end. I have honored the past. I've gotten into the wilderness. It's going to be messy for a while. And now I'm in the promised land. Woohoo, we finally made it. My tendency, unfortunately, is to keep looking ahead, when what I need to do is pause and say, praise God for what we have been through. I need to honor and thank and celebrate and recognize. Because at this moment, what my mama in her church is wanting is, can we have a little bit of stability? We made all these changes. Can we have a little bit of time to just take a deep breath? Because when we do, then people are able to kind of, you all seen the transition and transaction model, right? Where you say you go through a period of transition and then you need some time of transaction. All that means is, please don't go change and change and change and change. I've got to have some time to breathe. Everybody say, I get that. Now, I know that many of the things we've talked about today are absolutely, completely, well, obvious, right? But sometimes even the obvious stuff gets missed. There's a little wicker basket down there. I would love to send you some information about things that we're doing. If you'd be willing to drop a business card, or if you'd be willing to write your contact information on a little piece of paper, once we head to lunch, I'm going to draw a name out of that. And I wrote a book called Daring to Dance with God, and this is going to go to somebody who sticks their thing in the basket. Otherwise, you can order one of those online at wallingondvd.com. I know, it's a lame name. We picked it a long time ago. But Walling on DVD, where there's a presentation like this there that you could get if you wanted to for your congregations. Okay, having said that, I get that a lot of this is obvious, but sometimes we miss it. On St. Patrick's Day, a man walks into a bar in Boston. He says, I'll raise a Guinness in honor of Ireland and with anybody here. And a guy at the bar swivels around and says, you're Irish, aren't you? He said, yes, I'm Irish. He said, I'm Irish. He said, oh, really? Yes. He sits down with him. He said, where were you born? He said, I was born in a little village north of Dublin. He said, I was born in a little village north of Dublin. What little village? He said, I was born in Kilhairn. No, I was born in Kilhairn. And they clink their glasses and they drink. And in a minute he says, wait a minute. What school did you go to? He said, I went to St. Mary's. He said, I went to St. Mary's High School. When did you graduate? He said, I graduated in 1962. He says, I graduated St. Mary's in 62. And they're hugging one another. And at this, the bartender just walks away. Somebody says, Mick, what's wrong with you? He says, I'm sick and tired of it. The O'Malley twins are drunk again. Now, the reason... I've got Irish blood. It's legal for me to tell it. The reason I love that story is that sometimes things are just so obvious right in front of us. The need to say why, the need to think about people, the need even to say, all right, let's walk through this carefully. But with all of the stuff, the most obvious stuff is, hey guys, hey ladies, it's not on us. This is God's church. He's got this. What we want to do is just do the best we can about our part. And stop thinking, what's going to happen? Because God will not let the gates of hell prevail against His kingdom. And we have the best news in the world. We just want to learn to share it the best way we can. And if Satan ever tells you, boy, you're messed up, you need to tell him right back, God doesn't have anything but messed up children. In fact, God loves messes. That's why He called Jesus the Messiah, is because He loves messes so much. And we got a room full of messes here who are ready for lunch. Can I get a oh yeah? Bow your head. Father, thank you for today. Thank you for those online who've shared with us. Thank you for a time to be together. And Father, I ask, even as Terry kind of leads us out here, that you would give us the strength and courage to lead well, to change. God, not just tell others to change, but for us to change in our attitudes, in our communication, in our spirit. And Father, even as we do that, will you give us deep courage to trust you, step out in faith. And Lord, may the future of your kingdom always honor you. May your will be done on earth, even as it is in heaven, we pray. And in Christ Jesus, we all say, amen. If you ever get out to Pepperdine University, we'd love to give you the 10-cent tour. We do a thing in May called the Pepperdine Harbor. It's a lecture series, and it takes about 3 days, and it's only, if you want to stay in an ocean view room in our dorms, you can stay all 3 days for a total of $155. So I know that there are many great resources SNU offers you here, and I'm honored to be part of it. We see this as a sister school. Both of us are trying to raise up the next generation of young Christian leaders. So I ask that you keep me in your prayers as I do that work. It's been a blessing to be with you. Thank you so much.